Do you want to use countdown timers more effectively? Well, for your live streams, we have 3 different ways that you can use countdown timers in your live streams so that you keep attention and that you hold people there. Instead of what the biggest fear is when it comes to countdown timers is that while you're during the countdown timer, people are going to come and leave because there's no content. Well, that's what we're going to fix today is for you to understand how to work in some of the entertainment value or the hold attention value. So let's talk about the pros and why you would want to use a countdown timer. There are a lot of different reasons, but the 3 primary ones are it allows you to fix some tech issues, right? So when you go live, you know the drill. Sometimes things do go wrong, and that is unfortunately just the name of the game when it comes to live streaming. So with a countdown timer, even if it's just a couple of minutes, then you can actually fix your issues and nobody has to know that there are issues, right? So you can do all of that behind the scenes and get everything going, working. There's no awkward start. So like, on Amazon, for example, and sometimes with other platforms, when you go live, you don't necessarily know that you're actually right on time, right? So like there's maybe a little bit of like you looking at your monitor thinking, am I live? And then it hits live, but then when you watch the replay, it's an awkward start. So it can fix that because you know exactly when your camera is coming on and when your audio is coming on because you see the countdown timer going to it. And then also algorithmically speaking, countdown timers can be very beneficial to you in order to get the algorithm kickstarted. So it takes a bit of time for people to get notifications that you are live. And so what you want to do is use the countdown timer to your advantage in order to make sure people have time to come and see the start of your show. Now, algorithmically also, it is really important that you get engagement if you are going to use a countdown timer. Countdown timers can actually have a negative effect if you are not getting engagement right off that bat with that timer or during that timer because the algorithm sends out notifications based on what they see happening in your live stream. So if you are dead air and dead comment section, then it could have like an opposite effect of what you're trying to accomplish. However, if you get people talking and people are actually hanging out during the countdown timer, then it has a really positive effect on you and people don't miss the start of that show. Now, I talk about this in depth and all of the pros and cons and the when should you use it, when should you not use a countdown timer in the link that is in the description and coming to you in the comments right now if you're watching live, because it's a whole video all about the strategy of countdown timers for live streaming. Now, let's talk about different countdown timers that you can use. And the first countdown timer is what I would call a static countdown timer. And this is not my favorite by any means. The next 2 out of the 3 that I'm showing you today are going to be the better options if you can work that in. But sometimes you may need to start off with a static countdown timer like this, right? There's no camera behind the video. As you see in my normal countdown timers, I'm dancing behind the scenes. We'll talk about that. But this is a static countdown timer. Now, let me make sure that we're on the same page here. You want to add music to that or some kind of audio. If you do not have audio or music on your timer of any kind, whether that's your voice or whether that's music or something in between, I don't know what else would be in between, then your audience is going to think they have a problem with the audio on their end. So you definitely need to add some kind of, I would suggest music especially if you're going to do that static countdown timer. And you can get music from Epidemic Sound, which is where we use our music from, and it's copyright free. Now, we have a 30-day trial. That link is in the description, and that will help you not get struck in your videos because you're using pop music that is not copyright free. Okay, so next thing that we're going to talk about, so that was number 1, is a static countdown timer. Also, I want to be clear about this. You do not want to go over 3 minutes for a static countdown timer in most cases, because it's not as engaging. This is why it's not one of my favorite ways to do timers, because it is not holding people's attention. It will for a little bit, but not very long. So I would recommend between 30 seconds and 2 minutes, not longer than 3 minutes for a static timer if you're not going to engage people visually and audibly. Now, let's talk about the number 2 type of countdown timer, and that is a transparent timer. Within the transparent timer, you have a lot of different options. And so let me show you 3 different options. And keep in mind, this is your show. This is your magic. So do mix and match these ideas, or do something that you think of. And I would love to hear what you put together. So a transparent countdown timer like this, imagine there's music playing. This is kind of what I use during my shows. I'm dancing to the music that we're jamming to, right? And people literally show up 10 minutes before the show start for that pre-show time to dance with me or to just jam out to good music. And so it is highly engaging. As somebody said earlier, they said dancing behind the countdown is one way to keep attention. Exactly. And I'm holding their attention because I am not a good dancer by any means, right? I wouldn't say I'm a good dancer, but I'm just jamming. I just love to dance, and we're hanging out as friends, right? And that holds people's attention. I switch up the music on a regular basis so that people don't get bored of that same music over and over and over. So that's really important, is that engagement factor. What can you do so that you are holding their attention, getting them to talk, asking them questions, right? We have a team in the comments also engaging people while I'm focusing on trying to dance. But you may be saying, well, Luria, I don't want to dance. I don't feel comfortable dancing on screen. That is totally okay, right? You could do all kinds of different things. You could use a pet cam, right? That's an option, is having a separate camera behind whatever timer you use is on your pet. Maybe it's playing or eating or whatever, and just allowing people to kind of engage that way, or swapping between your camera and their camera. You could also do, kind of when you're getting ready, right? So like in that environment, you would really look at, just, you're not trying to dance, or you're not trying to perform anything exactly. You're getting ready, you're doing things, right? People are voyeuristic. And so if you're, putting your makeup on, whatever, right? And you're like, that kind of stuff, you're doing your computer stuff. And maybe from time to time you talk to your audience in addition to having some music playing. That can be a really powerful way to go about it. And I just want to tap into that voyeuristic comment again, because it's really important that you understand with everything that you're doing with live streaming that you have to understand human behavior. If you do not get humans and the way they operate and the things that they want, and you're not willing to tap into that, then guess what? You will have a harder time getting engagement. So start to understand and that the human factor and the way we operate in our brains as human beings is massively important. So with whatever you're doing in your countdown timer, then you will be able to engage with them from that perspective. So you can get ready, you can dance, you can have a pet cam. Those are 3 different options for you. And also, whatever you decide to do on the camera side, you could have, let's say, a ticker going by, right? Feeding them some information. So they're watching you, and then they're also reading what's coming up. And this just rotates through or feeds in new information so that people as they come in, because not everybody is going to come in right at the same time, right? We're going to have a trickle effect going. So when people are coming in, there's a lot to pay attention to in an environment like this, right? We've got words on screen for them to pay attention to. We've got motion in the background for them to pay attention to. We're holding their attention and giving them and feeding them visual aspects to continually want to engage. So that's a really important piece of this as well, is not just having something super simple, but where there's more to do. Right? We want to keep them paying attention to that screen. We want them in the comments. So for example, this is being shot live. If you're watching the replay, you're seeing a chopped down version of this. But Callie on our team did during the countdown timer a poll. And that is another way to keep people engaged, right? So she said, do you use a countdown timer for your streams? 54% of people said they do. 23% said, I want to, but I don't. And then 21% said no. So, having them, giving them activities during that timer, whatever is visually happening on screen, is very, very important as well. Now, the third type of countdown timer that I think a lot of you could actually have a lot of fun with if you don't feel like you're engaging on camera without speaking, which is the conversation. This is a true pre-show where you are not just entertaining people, but you are instead having a conversation with people. Now, in this example, we've got a lot going on again, right? We've got the timer that people can see. We've got the bubbles going, which is just fun to watch. We've also got a very visual example of what's coming up on the show. So we're saying, welcome, like this is the pre-show. This is what you're going to watch if you stick around. So making sure they understand why it's important for them to stick around is also very important. And then also you'll see we have some call to actions during the pre-show, because there are two things that people are always asking me during my pre-show, which is what music are you playing and where can I get it? And number two, how can I get that countdown timer, right? So like they want what we do, and we offer that in our store, and we offer pre-done, right? Countdown timers. And then also we have the music affiliate side of things with Epidemic Sound. So having something that people can take action on during it at their desire, where you're not even having to say anything like, go buy this. You don't even have to do it, right? If you're engaging and if people are keeping their attention on you and you find out what they naturally are inclined to want from you, these two things are the things that people ask for. That's why we have that in that timer, right? So these are different options for you in terms of what you can do with your countdown timers. Again, number one, I'm going to come back to that scene. Number one was the static countdown timer, not the most effective unless you can find a way to with your voice kind of talk to people through it. Then number two was a transparent timer, which you can do a lot of different things with because it is transparent. You could have a pet cam, you could dance, you can just get ready and allow people to see behind the scenes. You can also then, with the third countdown timer, you have that conversation pre-show where you are literally just hanging out, you're talking to people, you're answering questions or comments, you're putting those on screen. You have a lot of information available to people during that countdown timer. So let's talk about some of the things that you might actually want to include in your timer. Now, I'm not saying you need to include all of these at the same time. These are options that you can include. So what's coming up, like you saw in that third countdown timer, something, a piece of engagement, whether that's dancing, whether that's talking, something to hold their attention. Music is always a great option, and links to anything that you might want people to see or click on or engage with. And then also throwing comments up during the countdown timer is a really effective way to keep people there, to keep people engaged, to show them that you care about them as a person. So that is like the 3 different types of countdown timers that you can use and some ideas around that. If you want to learn more about the benefits, the pros, the cons, the what you should think about, all of the things and when you should use them, when you shouldn't, that video is right here. I would encourage you to go watch that. It's a perfect complement to this video. And I will see you in the next.